Hey guys, welcome to a new video, and I haven't done FNAF related content in a while, I know, but I'm back to it now. Now this video is going to be about A Bite at Freddy's, a new fan game that was released 4 days ago at the time of recording. Now, with the witty banter out of the way, let's get right into this review. Alright, now right out the bat, we're greeted by a walkie-talkie wearing a cowboy hat, which is basically your manager speaking to you. Apparently, you have to try out a new delivery system in this game that delivers the delivery from the kitchen to our office and to different rooms all across the pizzeria, which by itself is one of the very unique mechanics in this game. So the orders basically have 3 phases. They have preparing, which is when the delivery is being prepared by the head chef Fazbear, sending, which is when the delivery is going from the kitchen to party room A, then party room B, and then finally arriving at the office. And arrival is when the deliveries arrive to your office or to the other rooms, and when that happens, the night is basically over and you've gone for your first shift, because the game is split into shifts instead of nights, which I also like because the game isn't too long, luckily. Alright, now this game works very different from FNAF 1, because in FNAF 1 or most FNAF fan games, you usually have to close doors to your left, right, or maybe even center. Sometimes you want to spice it up, but in this game, it is very different. Basically, what you have to do is you have to go on the cameras and close the little vents that the deliveries go through via a button to keep either Bonnie or Freddy from receiving the deliveries for you. It's kind of like shutting off a vent in FNAF 3. And if you don't do that, they'll crawl into your vent and they might jump scare you if you don't listen close enough. Now we also have Chica, which also has a pretty fun mechanic in of itself. Basically, when she appears in your office, you have to quickly draw a gun from your office table, and which will enable her to go into showdown mode. Basically, you have to shoot her as fast as possible so you can win the showdown. And there's also this fun little bonus where if you hit her between the eyes in the main menu at the bottom left, it'll even say how many times you've actually done that in the game in total, which is, I find, is a pretty nice touch. Oh yeah, and before I forget to mention it, this game, also the theme of it is basically a Wild West Five Nights at Freddy's, which I really like. It's a very unique fan game in that direction, and especially with its mechanics. And also the game has some extravagant courses you've never had before to offer you. Alright, and now the next and final mechanic, at least for the first course, is shutting off the lights in your office, which is basically what you use to ward off Bonnie, because Bonnie can not only enter through the vents, but he can also enter just your office in general. I have to turn off the lights or he'll find you and kill you. Now power also works in a very unique way in this game, I forgot to mention. Basically, it's kind of like the Return to Bloody Night style battery mechanic, where theoretically you have infinite power, but you have to make sure not to overload it all or it'll just shut down. Now after you beat course 1, the game greets us into course 2 with one of the most clean transitions I've ever seen in my fan game life, not even joking. Like, there's basically a seamless transition where you don't even notice you've entered the other course. Now basically the walkie-talkie comes back to tell us about the new fan mechanic. Basically, there's a fan in the vents which you can activate to block Mr. Fazbear from entering our office from above. Now there is something special about this, because basically if Freddy is with his head, like head and body between the fan, you can actually decapitate him, which will make his head roll into the office, and then you have to fight against a headless Freddy. And now after you beat course 2, you'll get another transition into your boss asking you to basically replace some screws in the conveyor vent, because it's basically broken or something like that. Now while you're in the vent, you have these small little gates that you can close to keep Bonnie away from all of your business. Basically, Bonnie will try and attack you this minigame and of course kill you while you have to replace the screws. Now to replace them, first you have to collect the rusty screws and then put in new ones. And when Bonnie appears from either the closest vent or the furthest away vent, you have to quickly close a small gate to send them all the way back. It's a pretty fun but also short minigame, which I like. It isn't like incredibly long-winded. And after you clear the minigame, you're greeted by the actual course 3 with some new camera related mechanics. Now this new mechanic, basically the cameras can start glitching, and to restore them you just have to refresh the cameras in the backstage. Now a new animatronic also gets added, which is Foxy. Now Foxy can also get in the backstage and start chewing on the wires because he hasn't eaten his breakfast or something. So in order to say no eating wires to Foxy, you need to click refresh camera button once again to basically shock him to make sure he doesn't eat through your entire wire system. Now if the cameras become completely completely inoperable. You can put them on backup, but that will make them drain your office's power, which of course isn't that good of a thing. But that's basically it for the main nights of the game. Now, after cleaning the third night, you do get a nice ending where basically you're dining with your manager after the shit. Now, after you get back to the menu, a new night appears, which is named Final Course with glitching text and all. That's how you know it's the final night of the game, if it has glitching text. Basically, on the final course, Fredbear shows up, which basically does what every other animatronic couldn't and actually kills me. Now, this had me by absolute surprise because it felt like he just came out of nowhere. Now, Fredbear is basically an amalgamation of every other mechanic in the game we've seen so far. He can mess with the wires, he can enter the room like Bonnie, he can go through the vents like Freddy, he can also go through the regular vents like every other animatronic. He's basically everybody all in one. Now, after the first shock of, seeing Fredbear, the night wasn't that bad, and after completing the final course, you get a cutscene of Freddy escaping the establishment, which then leads to a cutscene of a journal reporting the disappearance of the other animatronics, and that's when the credits roll. Well, that's all for this video. Now, I'd like to give this fan game a 10 Estus Flasks out of 10. This game is absolutely incredible, and I loved every second of it, not even joking. I absolutely adore this game. It's not incredibly long like some other FNAF fan games, but it's not too short where it's like, oh, I forgot this game even existed for a while. It has fun, bonus game content. It also has a ultimate custom night kind of thing. I absolutely love this game. Its designs are unique, kind of like Tealerland, where the designs are incredibly good, but also not like a copy of another game. The story is not too confusing. You can follow it easily. The transitions are incredible. This game is my definition of a 10 out of 10. Well, that's all for this video. I'll see you guys in the next one.